The story of Arlo Guthrie and Alice's Restaurant.
You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant.
In 1967, there were a lot of changes going on in the world, but the one thing on everybody's mind was the increasingly aggressive Americanization of the Vietnam War. Men as young as 18 years old were being drafted to join the war effort, and for the first time in American history, there was actually a huge backlash against it from the civilian public. He may not have thought it would get much attention, but Alice's Restaurant Massacre by Arlo Guthrie was just what the doctor ordered. Quick summary: Arlo and his friend are visiting their friends Alice and Ray for Thanksgiving dinner. As a thank you for the meal, Arlo and his friend offered to take their garbage down to the city dump for them. But when they arrive at the dump, they realize that some things are closed on holidays and the dump happens to be closed on Thanksgiving. So they find a cliff nearby, and at the bottom of the cliff is already a pile of garbage, so they just add their pile to that pile and be on their way. Shortly afterwards, they were arrested and charged with littering and causing a public nuisance. Later, when Arlo gets drafted, they discover he has a charge on his record, and he's questioned whether or not he's moral enough to join the American Army. And this is how Arlo Guthrie got out of going to the Vietnam War. The story isn't 100% true, but it is based on real events, and Arlo Guthrie did get out of the draft based on a previous charge he had for littering. After all, he would have been 20 years old in 1967, and therefore the perfect age to be drafted to Vietnam. There's a family joke in the Guthrie household. They say that the last song that Woody Guthrie ever heard was Arlo's Alice's Restaurant, which he sent to him to listen to right before he passed away. The name of the song, of course, comes from his friend Alice and her restaurant that she ran, and the story would be expanded on in the film, but the real Alice wasn't happy with the way that she was portrayed and therefore has spoken out against it and distanced herself from the movie. The film was written and directed by Arthur Penn, who sought to make a commentary on the counterculture in the 1960s, and the scene at the very end of the film where Alice is standing in the doorway in her wedding gown, watching as her guests leave, is meant to be a commentary on the end of the 60s and the end of the dream. Due to the song's length, it never charted on the Billboard chart, so it technically can't be considered a hit, but it is still a regular on Arlo Guthrie's playlist. And due to its association with Thanksgiving, the film has become a family tradition all across America.